Welcome, Lion Nation, to the Lucky Rabbit for tonight's episode 3 of the Lion Nation podcast this season.
Yes, sir.
Joining me is going to be Coach Price to start off festivities. Then we're going to have the defensive coordinator, Coach Lopez, as well as Jake Bridwell and Ryan Casimir will come up and speak to us, a couple of seniors. But it looks like everybody's still kind of making their way out here. You know, the Lucky Rabbit, we thank them very much for hosting us. It is actually in Georgetown, but which is in the LISD taxing district.
It is.
And zoned for Leander students. So those that are here, let's get a round of applause for Lucky Rabbit. I want to thank them again for their sponsorship, as well as all the other sponsors of Leander football and really all the athletics and programs at the institution. So, Coach, it's been a couple of weeks since we had a podcast. I think we were 1-0 in district when we had the last podcast, and now we're 3-0.
Yeah.
Sitting on top with the Cedar Park Timberwolves, who have kind of been a nemesis of the Lions for a few years. So just talk about the excitement around the school now. This is not a position that the kids that are currently attending Leander High School are accustomed to, their football team being sitting on top and an opportunity to make the postseason. Talk about the mood at LHS, not so much the team, but the school.
Well, it's almost hard to differentiate because the school has so much spirit just kind of naturally, but you can definitely tell that people are a little bit more excited about where we are right now and some of the potential that we have moving forward as we kind of hit the last half of the season. So it's really exciting to see all of our spirit groups get out and do their thing, and just they have the little extra pep in their step as they're going. And so you can tell it's definitely affecting the students across the board on campus, so it's really cool to see.
Well, it has an effect on overall pride in LHS and pride in the football team. They're not getting big heads, though, are they? You're keeping them in line, right?
No, we have good kids, across the board, always have, and so I think they understand that, each week is going to be a different week, and whatever success you've had in the past, it's good to enjoy it in the moment, but you got to move on pretty quick and prepare for the next opponent, and that's kind of where all the kids are right now.
Well, it started out with a big win over Georgetown at homecoming, and then a win against the Glen Grizzlies at our house on their homecoming.
Sure.
And then we traveled to Killeen Chaparral to take on the Bobcats. So we've talked to you a little bit about the Georgetown game in the last episode. Let's talk about those other two games. Start out with the Glen Grizzlies, another rival of the Lions.
Yeah, as you get more schools in LISD, I think everybody becomes a rival, but Glen is unique because of its proximity to us. And so a lot of our kids know a lot of their kids, and there's some – personal rivalry there. And so once you get them all on the field, it's a pretty intense game. And, the kids play very well kind of from top to bottom. And, we were able to take advantage of some of the mistakes they made and kind of jump on them pretty quick and early. And that was definitely to our advantage. So, it was a strong game by both sides of the ball. And we've had some, special team plays in there that helped us out quite a bit. We had a big onside kick about I think it was midway through the second quarter to give us another possession, which when you're playing an offense like that, possessions are a premium because they want to,
they want to eat up the clock as much as they can.
I like how y'all stacked the box on that game right there.
Yeah. We'd have let you play if you were out there. We were trying to get as many guys as we could because their run game's really explosive and, hard to contain. They do a lot. And so I think ultimately they ended up throwing the ball 28 times, which I think up to that point they'd only thrown at 31. So we were able to kind of get them.
In the entire season,
yeah. So I think we kind of were able to get them out of their comfort zone, which was good. And then Killeen Chaparral, that was our we were in the district last couple of years with, the College Station. So we were kind of on the road for an extended period of time. Killeen Chaparral was our longest trip this year and got out. That's a young team with the transition late in the year, very athletic, and we had some mistakes that we made, but what I told the guys after the game was the sign of a good team is being able to overcome mistakes and still having success. So, we'll work on cleaning up some of those things that didn't go so well for us, and then the things that did. We had one really big special teams play, a big onside kick.
Huge.
Yeah, so, keep building on kind of those things that went well and just try to put it all together again versus Lake Belton.
Well, and there were points left on the field.
Sure.
Obviously that score could have been in the 30s for the Lions. And you just mentioned it, you get them through that. But what's different about this squad versus past squads that might get down on themselves and allow a mistake to perpetuate into multiple mistakes?
Sure, I think it's just that, their ability to handle some adversity when things aren't, perfect. They do a good job of kind of flushing the bad play and moving on to the next good one. And so that's been big for us this year, is not letting those mistakes hang around for, 2 quarters and cause multiple mistakes. So it's just their attitude. When something bad happens, they don't get too down on themselves, and then they don't get too up when something good happens. They kind of just keep plugging through.
And we've seen some success offensively, and that'll carry you a long way in terms
Sure.
of confidence. If you get down a score or even 2, you have confidence that you can move the ball and put points on the board, and that goes a long way. One of the things I've noticed this season is the ability to execute offensively on third downs, really both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
One, defensively to get off the field, but offensively, even in third and semi-long situations, 12, 15 yards, we've been able to convert and keep drives alive. Talk about that. Is that a matter of scheming? Is it, I always say, is it the X's and O's or Jimmy's and Joe's? I mean, it's a little of both. What is it?
It's probably a little bit of both, but more on the kids. I think they just do a really, really good job of understanding where they are. I think it's easy to run a 9-yard route when you need 10 instead of, taking the extra step to get where you need to go. And so these guys are really executing the finer points, the things that you really have to do to convert those longer situations on third down. And then defensively, I think we have a lot of kids that understand what they're going to see on third down. They've watched a ton of film. They're really self-prepared to go make a play on third down. And so all of that stuff matters. We have a couple of guys on defense that are great at just identifying what they're going to see and what they get out of individual formations, and that helps us out. We can't talk to them in a game, so it's kind of on them to make those adjustments and checks and all that stuff, and they're doing a really good job.
Well, and it goes a long way to your credit as the staff as coaches to have them prepared on an intelligence level to realize the situation, what's appropriate to deal with that situation.
Sure.
We see it all the time on Fridays. There's an interference call downfield, and I guess the kids watch a lot of NFL games, and they want to run down to where the interference occurred.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not the penalty,
no,
right?
It's not. Well, unfortunately, I think some of our officials have done that too, so it kind of goes with
it can
both
add a little
groups.
confusion
Yeah.
to that, right?
Yeah. So.
Well, that's one of the areas that the officials, not to get off topic, but officials in the area, there needs to be more officials, and there
absolutely.
are a limited number of those guys.
Leander ISD passed I don't want to call it a measure, but they are going to allow us to teach an officiating class beginning next year to seniors. So hopefully we can get, those football players and, other fall athletes when they transition out of their athletic sports to join that officiating class. And you're going to have a couple of coaches that are able to teach it. We have a couple of coaches on staff that are officials for other sports, and hopefully we can start building some more officials out of guys who have participated and played and can help kind of remedy that problem.
Well, I always tell the kids, stay involved in the sport as
Sure.
much as you can if you love it. That's one way to do it. It's also a way to have a little walking around money.
Absolutely.
That especially when you're in college and you're focused on grades, and a Big Mac would be nice, but that pocket's empty.
Yeah.
Well, go coach a couple of youth football games, some Pop Warner games, and you'll walk out of there with a wad of 20s.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's they play sports everywhere, so no matter where you are,
right,
you can find a place to get in and officiate and help the community you're in, but also, like you said, make a little extra money for yourself.
And it's become year round. Even when I was coaching youth football, it was just kind of growing in the spring. Sometimes there's 8-man, sometimes there's 11-man, but it's full contact. And they need referees, and there's always a shortage. So,
well, the good thing is this class is going to go through multiple sports, so they'll be able to officiate not just football, but
basketball,
any sport. Yeah, so
soccer.
I think it'll be really, really good for Leander High School and all the other schools that are going to participate.
So let's talk a little bit about the upcoming contest with Lake Belton, the Broncos. Even though when I pull up their website, they have a Colts type logo. Threw me off. I'm like, are they the Colts? No, they're the Broncos.
Yeah.
So I didn't really find a lot of news on them. They're somewhat new school as well, but they seem to be pretty successful in terms of their record. So talk about their team overall.
Yeah, they're a school that's coming up from 5A Division II, joining us in this 5A D1 district. And like you said, overall, they've had a lot of success over the last few years that they've been playing varsity football. Very talented on both of the lines, the defensive line and the offensive line. They have a quarterback that's going to come back this week, we believe, that started the season for them. So they've kind of had a couple of different guys rotating in the last few games, which will add to them offensively.
Hope he's rusty.
Yeah, we always do. They're going to be long and fast and athletic, and it's from a scheme standpoint, it's not a lot that we haven't seen before, but they'll have a couple of little tweaks that they have here and there, both offensively and defensively.
So we'll ask Coach Lopez more about how to attack their offense, but talk about how you will attack that defense without giving away any secrets, obviously.
Sure, yeah. I think it's going to start just with our offensive line and our run game, being able to control the clock a little bit. And you talked about the third downs earlier. It's going to be big to convert all of them that we have an opportunity to. If we can keep their offense off the field, that's only good for us. And, eventually get those possessions into points is the big thing. We have a good field goal kicker. So 3 is better than none. And so any opportunity we can get to get points on the board is just going to be important.
Well, and that's just it. That there, like we talked about in the last game, there were some opportunities that didn't really go our way for a variety of reasons. That's the kind of thing I don't think we can afford as much against Lake Belton as it was against Chaparral.
Probably no one left on our schedule. We got to take advantage of every opportunity we have. We got to every team we have left is going to be a good opponent and an opportunity for us to execute down the field and get points on the board. So we have to.
Well, and when I was sitting around thinking of questions to ask Coach Price, I wanted to ask you about postseason and stuff, but I know better, right?
Yes, sir.
You want to go 1-0 every week,
yes,
right?
Sir.
That's the goal. And so I'll leave it at that, and us fans can talk about all of the different scenarios
I appreciate that
it might take for the Lions to break the drought in the postseason.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I appreciate that. And, we're excited about the game this week and that opportunity and whatever it brings with it. We'll definitely take it with a win. So.
All right, Coach. Well, we'll let you get a little food in you,
sir.
and
Thanks,
we'll
guys.
bring up
Appreciate
Coach
it.
Lopez.
Yep.
Did he at least finish his food? He might get a little scratchy throat at some point from all the yelling you do on a week-to-week basis. How are you, Coach?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good to see
Glad
you.
to be here.
Frank?
Thank you for everything. We've met before,
Okay.
but this is the first time I get the chance to see you.
This is Juan, and this is Peter.
Yeah.
The broadcast crew, if you will.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the defensive performance throughout the season so far.
Yeah.
We've seen not to disparage past iterations of Lion defenses, but we've seen a marked improvement in the defense overall,
Right.
both against the run and the pass. So talk about your defense so far this year.
Well, our defense has continued to play hard, and they've done a good job at executing the things that we've been asking them to execute. And, we're very proud of that. We've have some guys that have built up some worthy statistics and accolades right now. We have Garrett Pites, who's the leading sack leader in the district. We have Bridwell, who was at one point the leading tackler in the district.
Right.
Now he's number 3. Really, I think he's number 2 because all of a sudden there was some guy on Eastview that had 20 more tackles. I think someone cooked the books. I'll be on the record, right? I don't care if they hear it.
They found some mail-in tackles. Is that what it was?
Come find me. Anyways, but, I'm really proud of our guys because they are someone who has taken the system ever since they were in 8th grade, and now they're executing a lot of those guys as seniors. And so, I have just the way you asked Coach Price, what's the difference with some of these kids? And I think some of it is maturity. For them, our base defense, it's not them just trying to run it in 1 or 2 years now. For some of these seniors, they've been running it for 5 years. And some of our younger juniors, they've been on varsity for 2 years, and they've been running that system for 4 years. And so whenever you can get that kind of experience together,
especially at the
varsity level, that really helps. And so, I actually have a huge pride in our defense, and I was having this conversation with those kids. It's like, you go to the Statesman and you see some of the teams, and they're like, okay, this defensive tackle's going, from Bastrop, he has 2 big offers, one at Georgia,
right,
one at whatever, somewhere else, and you go to the linebacker at LBJ, and he's got his 3 offers. And right now, we have some kids that have some opportunities, and we're very excited for them. But at the same time, we are succeeding because of not some elite freak phenom. We are succeeding because of 11 guys on the field, flying to the football, doing what we're supposed to be doing, and just continue to play hard, And it's like I tell the guys, like, you don't have to try to win the game every play. You just got to try to win the play. And then at the end of the day, you win enough plays, then the game you'll do just fine.
Well, and not to use a common phrase for the Lions, but you just have to have pride in what you're doing out there.
Absolutely.
And if you can be successful on one play, even if you're down, that can breed success on the next play and start to draw you back closer to your opponent. One of the things that I really wanted to touch on, and what you said about the years of experience in the system is, I think, a big factor in the execution of the team from this year to past 4 or 5 years. This football program went through a couple of coaches somewhat quickly, and it really took a calming, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do this until we're successful at it, and we're not going to change from it. And one of the things that we talked to Coach Price early about in his tenure here at Leander was lineman numbers.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons the Lions always ran a 3-man front was because you need 5 offensive linemen and 3 defensive linemen, and then 2 or 3 other guys is not enough, right? So talk about the ability to switch between 3, 4, and as we saw against Glenn, 5 or 6 defensive linemen.
Yeah, and so, one of our strategies, that's built into our scheme is to kind of manufacture a front that can be a 3, 4, 5 D lineman defense. And sometimes, like you saw versus Glenn, we'll actually have personnel change in and out. But then sometimes it'll just be based off of alignment and linebackers and safeties adjusting their based off the call to kind of give that feeling with the offensive lineman that there's 4 linemen or 5 linemen. And so, the 3-3-5 really allows you to do that. And because you're right, because, whenever you have a lot of linemen and they're kind of more of a gap control, get in the gap, put your 2 hands, the lineman doesn't push them anywhere, then you're probably looking to be in a 4-man front, or a 5-man front, with a flex, rush in, kind of like the Cowboys used to do with DeMarcus Ware. But if now you have little bit smaller linemen like we have, but you're able to have a little bit more speed, some more explosion, then you can try to create some disruption with that movement, and with the linebackers now creating a fourth man or fifth man pressure, which basically puts them in the gap that another defensive lineman would be. And, our goal, as we talk to the guys whenever we do some of that stuff, is multiple defensive schemes, is for the linemen to never feel comfortable feeling like they're going to come out the next play and know who they're blocking.
Yeah, my guy lined up in the
my
gap.
guy lined
He's
up
gonna
here
be
every
there.
single play. And so I think naturally that once a lineman and an offense gets comfortable knowing that, then that's when they can operate in a comfortable manner. And our job as a defense is not only to make plays, but it's just to keep the offense guessing and uncomfortable. I tell the guys all the time, if you can stop the bread and butter of an offense, we go into game plan sometimes and say, this play, right, this is what we're stopping. And if we can get them to run this play, guess what? They're just like us. They only have so much practice time. They've only practiced that one odd play, that one odd formation, 5-10 minutes the entire week. So now they're trying to rely on winning the game with something they've also only practiced 5 or 10 minutes. And if half the time that's getting them to say, let's roll the dice, let's flip a coin, and I'm willing to take those chances with our guys.
So speaking of that, talk about the Glenn game with that unique offense that, wasn't so unique in the 1920s and 30s, but you see teams run it occasionally, but it's not something you typically prepare for. So how do you deal with that in a week's time? Because you can get caught off, and they did have a couple of big runs against us, I think.
Yeah, they did, and then so with an offense like Glenn's, that's where it's a old school smash mouth football. If kids are not ready and in the right frame of mind, then that's usually when those teams succeed. And that's why if you look at Glenn right now, they're still scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
And it's because I truly believe that right now a lot of the defensive shift and mindset is try to get guys, tackle them from the side, maybe spread them out, maybe slow them down. But whenever the guy's running right at them, a lot of defenses are really not spending a lot of time trying to tackle somebody head up, and I'm not saying we do that all the time either, because we have to naturally structure our tackle practice drills versus the spread. But for that week, we adjusted some of our practice to make sure that we mimicked everything that we would see in a Glenn type offense. Like all of our tackling drills were downhill tackle drills. We weren't angling tackling. We weren't doing deep pursuit lanes, because that's not what you need versus them. And, what we tried to do is, and I told the kids, I said, they're a run team. They run 99% of the time. We're going to go ahead and we're going to stack the box and say, we're going to beat us by throwing. Exactly. And I think early on that worked pretty well. And then, of course, they made some adjustments, and then they started to gain some yards late. But part of that was because we had now forced them to try something that they were uncomfortable with, and some of it worked for them, some of it didn't. But then also some of it at the end was us defensively trying to help manage the clock and just get them to continue to run plays and run that timeout. But with the first touchdown, and Coach Bryce and I talked about this, and we talked about it with our coaches and our kids, is that offense, the very first drive you see it, it's so fast. You're not you can't mimic it with JV players,
right?
Or the guys who don't run that, and then now you have Coach Britton helping come be quarterback, and he already trips over his own feet just walking down the hallways.
Plus,
what I mean?
was he run like about a 6'8" 40 or something?
Yeah. The word is that he has Coach Spencer to send some clips to his girlfriend so he can feel good, but you never know. But either way, I also going back, that doesn't mimic the game speed, and so the first touchdown is always a given. I tell the kids that's the price you pay for admission to be able to get ready to play that kind of offense. Now you hope that touchdown is a 8-10 play drive so that the next time they come on the field, everything's slower, everything feels natural. And in a game of football, if you only give up one touchdown, then that's your cost of admission basically. And then now you're in a groove, which we did pretty much after that for at least for 3/4 of the game, then I think that's worth it. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of a little bit of the truth of the sacrifice of how you adjust during practice and then how you expect to maybe even be a little bit behind the curve for that first drive until everything settles into a natural groove.
Well, I'll just say and Frank was there pregame. I was talking about how worried I was with the practice time. You see Georgia Tech when they used to run the triple option. You saw Georgia Tech on your schedule as a college team. You were really worried about it because every other team runs some kind of spread,
right?
RPO type offense, and you see them beat a lot of teams that are highly ranked because of that preparation.
Absolutely.
And so we were really worried, and we were really impressed with how well the defense played.
As soon as you stacked that box, I knew it was all right. We got this. We got this.
Well, one of the things that our whole defensive staff tried to also preach is the mantra of come downhill and be physical. And we told the kids, like, if you're looking to backpedal, you're looking for 5 seconds to stand back and read the play, then this game isn't for you. And so what that did is it forced them to respond and say, I want to play, I want to be physical, I want to be Glenn. And then I think we were able to just get everybody on the same page and get them hungry. And then because of some scheme stuff, but also because of our committed mentality and that wavelength with our defensive team, that's why we were able to execute.
Now, speaking of physicality, this – in past years, there's always been a handful of really physical defensive players in the Lions teams. But this is, physical, on the front line, physical linebackers. They may be a little undersized, but they are physical. Same thing in the secondary.
Yeah.
And with the way that tackling is taught now, it's counterintuitive to me because of the way I was taught to tackle.
Sure.
How do they maintain that physicality while still staying within those rules of tackling?
Well, one of the things that we try to tell kids all the time is that although there might be some technique adjustments, there's no adjustment in the type of aggression and the type of physicality that's needed to play football or play defense, right? And so ultimately, whenever you have the ability to make an angle tackle or tackle somebody from the side, sure, you can talk semantics about where the shoulder pad and where the helmet are, how to protect yourself. And so that way you can coach and teach the kid the best you can. But at the end of the day, like, you still have to tell the kid if he doesn't trigger, if he doesn't fire off, if he doesn't initiate contact, then one, he's not in a place to defend himself versus the other contact. And then also he's not going to be as effective and whenever he's trying to tackle. And so it's but some of the drills that we do, honestly, we get kids started off with, we tackle some dummies. Kids, they feel pretty confident tackling a dummy because
they're slow.
It's slow, right? and so when we say dummies, we're not talking about Coach Flores, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then we go into our one-man sleds where it's now something that they can physically take to the ground. Like, you can't I'm a big believer of if the kid's not physically taking something to the ground, these are not just going to magically do it on game day. These are not guys that have been tackling for 10 years in the NFL or whatever, where they only tackle once every couple of weeks, right? You need to physically build into it. And then once they get that confidence and then we do our tackling circuit and we're live, we're real people, everybody understands that the goal is to be fast, physical, and then, of course, proper technique so they're safe.
All right, we're going to let you go after one more question, unless you've got something, Frank, you want to ask him. I'm just going to ask him to talk a little bit about Lake Belton, and then if you have anything, just –
No, I was going to say I was pretty impressed with all them stunts last game.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I liked them putting pressure on that quarterback.
Yeah. How fun is it to call those?
Oh, well, it's – a lot of it is really fun, really exciting, and it's like – it's there's always a little bit of risk reward sometimes because
you live by the sword.
It's like
how good that quarterback is at making that read.
But I tell our DBs and I say, you only got to guard whenever we're bringing pressure. You only got to guard someone for 3 seconds, and if you can do that, then that gives a chance for our guys to get a sack or a hurry. And then if they score if we're in man-to-man coverage and then they score a deep ball after 6 seconds, then that's not on them. I really don't believe that that's on our D-line because we're bringing pressure. That means we're not executing our proper technique. But whenever you can you're always got to watch film first to see, okay, who's their lineman that maybe always is a little bit slow-footed. Okay, or where do they always consistently shift their protection as far as their line going back and forth? Do they
find the weak spot?
And then so you're always just looking for the weak spot, and then you're looking for Really the first quarter of the game is trying to see, like, are the tendencies that you thought you saw in film, are they accurate? And then you try to attack those spots. And, sometimes they're exactly what you want, and then you have some success, and sometimes you don't, and then you make adjustments during the halftime, and you say, okay, this is where we see the new crease or the new weakness, and then we try to attack that, which is why sometimes you might see some of our pressures change in the second half versus our first half.
So talk to us about the upcoming opponent's offense, the Lake Belton, I'm going to call them the Colts even though they're the Broncos, the Lake Belton Broncos.
Ponies.
Yeah. Tell us about your plan without giving away any secrets, or, maybe just tell us about their offense, who to watch for in terms of being broadcasters. That way you don't give away how we're going to stop them.
Coach Hall is the resident offensive defensive game planner, and so he'll come in and he'll tell you it's very simple. You stop the run, you stop the pass, you tackle somebody, and then
you win the
game. And I usually tell them, I didn't think of that, thank you.
Yeah,
and so
it's the old famous, if they don't score, they can't beat you.
Oh, Coach Silver says it every time before I go up to the box, and I said, thanks, also didn't think of that either, too.
Right.
But, with Lake Belton, I think that one of the things is they've had a couple guys been out, and we're curious to see if they come back. And so we have a game plan that we've been practicing with some of the guys that have been playing in the recent plans and games, and then some tweaks that we might have for some of the new guys that if they come back, And with that being said, they are a little bit run heavy earlier downs, a little pass heavier later downs, and so we're going to try to have some game plans associated for that. We're going to try to give them some looks on some things that they haven't seen before. I know that they're basically going to be looking at our Chaparral film and say, okay, they had a strong showing. Well, how do they line up to the different formations? That's not a secret. That's what all offenses do. And then so some of them will be in the same, something will be different. And then my job is to help our guys have a little bit of variation so that way they don't, like I said earlier, they don't know what we're running every single play. And if we can do that, we can create pressure. I think that we have the DBs in the back to match up with our guys. Their quarterback is the one that's been in. He's a backup, but he's a little squirrely. He's got some shiftiness, and their running back, although he's not the best running back in the district, I really do believe this is that his vision and his patience is pretty good compared to some of the other running backs.
That can cost you if you're especially the way that our defense flies around.
And
you go right by him.
Exactly. And so that has happened before with defenses that are so
the cutback
explosive that the cutback, or then sometimes guys, they see a bundle and then they think the guy's down, but the truth is he's just kind of sitting there and then he finds a crease. And so, that's something that our job is going to be, is to keep that running back bottled up, and then of course the quarterback discourage him from running. So then if we can do that, I think we'll be in a good position to create some turnovers, which. Shout out to our defense. That's one of the highlights is our defense has scored, I think, in 3 different games. And so our goal when I talk to our guys is turnovers. If we can get turnovers, if we can score, then
possessions.
All we do is get extra possessions, extra chances for offensive guys to go out there and shine like they have been.
Well, Coach, I think you've done a great job this season, especially of keeping guys in position schematically to be successful. But you can't make the tackle for them, so that's up to them. And so we'll talk to a couple of them here momentarily. Yeah. I'll let you get back to your food.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the kind words and support. Thank you.
Great job, Coach. So I think we're going to have Jake Bridwell next. Jake Bridwell going once. He's running. He's got an ugly T-shirt on, though. I'm teasing. I tease. Hi, Jake. How's it going?
What's up, Jake?
So you just pop that on and put the mic somewhat close to your mouth. You don't have to eat it, but you want to be able to, and then, speak up a little bit. So this is your second year on varsity?
Third.
Third year. So
I got brought up last year. Or
during your sophomore
year, sorry.
Okay. So talk about your experience over the 3 years. Compared to a couple of years ago to now, as you've, from our perspective, we're seeing a building of success. Nowhere near where you know, as a program you want to be, but you're kind of putting building blocks there for yourself as well as future iterations of the Lions. Talk about your experience over the last 3 years.
I mean, sophomore year is just about a learning experience, just getting brought up middle of the year, just learning behind Gavin Brzezinski, which was, I mean, that was an experience because he had 110 tackles that season. And I mean, the year after that, it's first year ever playing safety, just trying to get the basics, trying to get the calls and movements, stuff like that. And that was kind of more of a learning year as well. And then this year is just kind of executing everything that I know and just playing off my instinct.
So where did you move from to become a safety?
Rover.
So you were like a strong safety, now you're a free safety?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Talk about the difference between those two positions, because as a rover, I always call them strong safety. You're a big part of your role is to support the run, but also from the free safety position, you also support the run, but you come downhill a lot faster and cover more ground. How is that? What's the difference?
I mean, honestly, it's hard to adjust from being rover to a safety just because the leverage I have from being so close to the line and then making those open field tackles in the middle of the field. But, I mean,
which do you like more?
Oh, free safety, 100%.
You like free safety more?
Yeah.
You like the ball hawk back there?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So how many interceptions do you have this year?
Zero.
Zero.
Yes,
okay.
I'm working on it.
I was like ball hawking. You got to get some balls so that you know. So make sure you don't cause a mess up in the assignment just to go ball hog.
Got plenty of tackles though.
Yes. And talk about that. Generally speaking, your linebackers are the guys that lead your tackle totals. But the teams that we play throw the ball more than anything, and so a lot of times you're out there tackling receivers, and so you're able to rack up a lot of tackles.
Yep.
How did it feel when you first found out that you were up at the top of the district in tackle totals?
It felt great. I mean, just felt like hard work paid off. Just grinding all summer with the coach, just working on game knowledge and just strength and stuff like that.
Well, and that position of safety is kind of a quarterback for the secondary a lot of times. Are you in charge of making sure the other guys are in the positions they're supposed to be?
Yeah, to a degree. Like, I'm not calling out plays, but I'm just calling checks and making sure everybody's in the right place. And
so if you see a cornerback on the slot that, on the line when he should be backed off, you yell at him and say back up?
No, not necessarily. It's just whether I'm out seeing formations and just oddities in the offensive formations.
So do you ever call an audible for the secondary?
Well, just checks,
Yeah.
formation checks. Whether it's trips, empty, we'll
So you're just
change
making
to a
sure
different
everyone's
coverage.
aware what
Yes, sir.
formation
Yes,
the
sir.
offense is in. Okay.
Yeah. Just communicating throughout the whole secondary.
Talk to us about the Georgetown game a little bit. That was a really impressive win for Leander. And not to build up Georgetown too much, but that running back was a big running back.
Yep.
And one of the things that we were most impressed with, and I'll speak for Frank on this, is we were able to keep him from building a head of steam. When he builds that head of steam, he's a lot harder to bring down.
Yep.
How was that for you as a safety to see that guy coming downhill once he broke through into the second level? Because you made a lot of tackles on him.
That honestly only happened just a couple times. D-line was doing good, keeping him from hitting open gaps and stuff like that. But I had a couple of tackles just head on from him. But, I mean, he's a big guy. You just got to tackle low.
And you see that style of a running back, kind of you probably have heard of this guy, but I'm going to go way back, like an Earl Campbell style, big guy. You got big thighs, big lower body. You got to tackle to bring down compared to the guy that we're going to face on Friday, which is, a little more of a scat back, cut back style runner. How do you adjust to that?
I mean, we just got to crowd to the ball, make sure it's not just a one-on-one situation so we're not getting beat and outside or just tackling.
So you just wrap up.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring them down. So let's talk a little bit about your personal life. Are you considering playing football beyond high school?
I mean, it's always been a thought in the back of my mind. Haven't actively pursued trying to talk to coaches and stuff like that, but I mean, I'm never not gonna put that out there. I'm never not gonna.
You'll take the call if the recruiter calls. So, so do you have huddle highlights that you put out there?
I'm working on making a highlight tape right now.
Yeah, that's probably step one, because even if one of these recruiters contacts you, the first thing they're going to ask is, do you have huddle highlights? Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you have those. Now, that's a lot of tackles to go through, and that's a lot of film to watch. Mm-hmm. But it'd be worth it if that's something you want to pursue. Now, are you interested in college regardless of whether or not you play football? Is that something you're considering?
Honestly, I would probably go to the military.
So which branch are you interested in serving in?
Army.
In the Army?
Yes, sir.
So you're just going to go basic, right?
Yes, sir.
Is there a particular part of the Army that you're interested in? Or is it infantry? Are you looking to be more of the Army Corps of Engineers kind of guy? Or are you looking at like Army Ranger kind of stuff?
No, I mean, Army Ranger is obviously cool, but probably around infantry or maybe even combat medic.
Okay, so you'd be interested in the medical field.
Yes, sir.
Because that's something that, beyond the military you can pursue as a career and be quite helpful to your community. And that's one of the things that I always try to talk to the players about is contributing to the community. If you love sport, get involved in that in some way, either coaching or, being on a broadcast like us or, even refereeing, as we talked to Coach Price about a little bit earlier. So I recommend that you consider that. Army does have a football team, and they're pretty good.
They're 5-0 this year, I think. Yeah,
they're undefeated going into this week, and they're right on the cusp of breaking into the top 25. So would you consider going to West Point and playing a little football for the black and gold, Knights, the Black Knights?
The opportunity came, 100%.
Would you? What if Navy recruited you? Would you go play for Navy or Air Force?
I mean, honestly, playing at a school that big and just the opportunity, it's too hard to shoot down. So I'd probably. So
any D1 school that contacted you'd be interested.
Yes, sir.
In. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your current education while you're at Leander High School. What's your favorite class?
Oh shoot, probably history.
History, and who's your favorite teacher? Is the same?
Well, currently?
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't take history right now.
You don't
I thought you were asking in general.
Well, yeah, that's fine in general because I like history a lot too. And being in the military, you obviously need to know history, right?
Yes,
especially that of the battles that are well recorded throughout history books. So, who's your favorite teacher overall at Leander? It doesn't have to be your current class of teachers, but it could be, throughout your time at Leander High School.
Oh.
Choose wisely.
Yeah. Especially if you got grades waiting.
Probably my freshman math teacher, Miss Dorgan. She used to be the soccer coach, I believe. I think she's not at
LHS anymore. Are you inspired by your teachers? Would you consider going into the field as a teacher or a coach?
As a coach, yeah, probably. I mean, it's not something I would rule out, but it's not my first option, honestly.
Okay, so when you go into this game against Lake Belton, you've obviously watched some film of the Broncos. Who are you most worried about on their offense?
Honestly, not worried about anyone on their offense, but just stopping their quarterback, running back. They have number 7. He's a receiver, Xavier Wells, I believe. But honestly, I'm not worried about anyone.
So is there anyone you would like to shout out before we let you go and bring up the next?
Shout out my parents, John Pork, my dogs.
Your dogs? What are their names?
It's a lot. It's 5. So.
5 dogs?
Yes, sir.
Are they all hunting dogs or something?
No, sir. There's 2 German Shepherds, Lola and Raider. There's a mini Schnauzer mix with, I don't even know, Sunday. There's a Yorkie mix with a mini Schnauzer, Willie, and then there's a pit bull staffy mix, which is Sandy.
My wife came to tonight's podcast, and she won't let me get another dog. We have 2, and I want a third, but she gives me a hard time. So I'm going to say, look, he has 5.
Yes, sir.
So awesome. So I appreciate your time,
Well,
Jake.
hold on, I got a few questions for him.
Yes,
So
sorry
it's
about that,
Thursday
Frank.
night before Friday. What's the routine like? Are we taking ice baths? Are we doing push-ups?
Just well fed, well slept, make sure we're hydrating the day before.
Yeah.
Team dinner, so I mean we're getting good food at each other's house. So
Okay. Not
Your
popping on a
carbo
movie or
load?
anything?
well, yeah, pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza is a big
We
thing.
used to watch Varsity Blues back in the day. We all get together and watch that Thursday night before the game. We get all hyped
He's
up.
you probably never seen that.
No,
movie.
oh, yeah, I've
you
seen
have?
that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you have to. Okay, it's an hour before the game. What's on the headphones? What are we jamming to? What are we getting hyped up to?
Honestly, I just listen to whatever they play on the speaker.
Okay, so it's in your head. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And that's mostly rap, right?
Yes, sir.
Prior interviews have told us that that's mostly
yeah.
rap music. So.
Edited. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. That's all I had for them.
I'm a metal guy, but I can handle some rap. But
AC/DC.
yeah, it needs to
Bells,
have a
bells.
distorted
It's all
guitar
right.
to
Yes,
get
sir.
hyped
Yeah.
up for me. But awesome. So how do you like playing in a stadium like Bible?
Oh, it's amazing. Like just under the Friday night lights, like it's nothing you'll ever experience.
Yeah, I played there in 1988, but they had grass, and the stadium was not the same.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but it was a lot of fun to come down and lose to Leander.
Happens to a lot of people.
It does, and it's starting to happen a lot more often, and we're really excited about it. The community, you can see it, and not just the Leander area, really the Austin area. People are taking notice that Leander's back.
Yes, sir.
So don't let your head get big or anything like that, but keep making those tackles and take a little bit of credit.
Just
Yes,
own
sir.
it. Own it.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Live it right now. Like I said, you'll blink and
It
2
will be
years from now.
over.
So,
And you may get fortunate this season. You keep winning every week. You're going to end up in the postseasons. You might get an additional week, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it takes 6 to be in the state championship game. So we would love that
Oh yeah.
as fans. And
it's
of
on my
course,
Christmas list.
we always talk about with Coach. You're 1-0 every week. So
Yes,
you
sir.
worry about Lake Belton this week, and then we'll worry about the next one next week. So
Yes, sir.
thank you very much for coming
Thank
out,
you.
Jake.
Thank you for having
We
me.
appreciate
Keep it up, man.
Yes, sir.
So we have one more interview coming out, and it's Ryan Big Casimir. Is that his? Casimir, where you at?
Right by the food.
Well, most linemen are, but it looks like he's out there competing. That's the other thing.
All right.
You come to
That's a line for you.
a place, and they're still going to be out there competing. Good. How are you, Ryan?
What's up, Ryan?
My favorite position on the field, because I played it also, is offensive center.
Yeah,
you
that's
thought I
fun.
was going to say something different, but no,
Yeah.
it is the center. Let's talk a little bit about playing center, because it is one of the probably the most unique position on, in my opinion, either side of the offense or defense. You're kind of a quarterback of the lineman, right?
Yeah.
And but you also have to have a good relationship and communication with your quarterback. So talk a little bit about your experience as a center, dealing with those, especially, you're a senior. Some of your linemen are underclassmen or are just juniors. So, you're in a teaching role as well. Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, it is fun, and it does come with its challenges. But, I think whenever we're in the game and sometimes we start getting a little over ourselves, we have some mistakes and stuff like that. I'm usually trying to calm all the younger guys down, and usually it goes pretty well. But sometimes, they have their flaws. But that's what makes football. So,
Do you kind of think of your role with those younger guys as kind of like a big brother? Because I mean, that's one of the common terms used about football teams. These are my brothers. I'll go to battle with my brothers. Those kinds of things. So do you kind of look at them as like they're your mentees and you're the mentor?
Oh yeah, I think that like since I have more experience than most of the guys on the line, that I'm always trying to coach them up, make sure they know what they're doing. Like especially during practice, whenever they mess something up, I'm always trying to be there and just like, hey, you should, instead of doing this, do that, and just making sure that they're good to go. And then so that next year as well, when I'm not going to be here, they're going to have the most success they can.
Yeah, you want them to be, you want to leave them in a better position than you found them, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just your job to do that. Obviously, the coaches are going to work with them and do those kinds of things. But I always just look at the center in that way as kind of a, for lack of a better word, captain of the offensive line.
Yeah.
So. Now, granted, you could have a guy that's a Division I talent at left tackle, but it's still he's going to rely on the center a lot of times because you've got to call your blocking schemes as you come up and see the front the defense is showing you.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever audible that because they shift or anything?
Well, sometimes we'll shift depending on where like the nose guard lines up, but usually everyone pretty much knows what we're going to do because – we have experience. Everyone pays attention in practice, pays attention in film, and we go out there and we don't have to make as many audibles as you think we might have to just because everyone's prepared enough for it.
Well, and if they're not, you're going to let them know about it, right?
Yeah, obviously.
so that adds a little bit of incentive for them to perform. Now, the center, you're a pretty good-sized fella. The center is sometimes a little smaller than the rest of the offensive line, and your tackles are pretty big guys. Your guards are pretty big.
Yeah.
Are they stronger than you, or do you show them?
I show them up all the time.
So they're looking up to you like as a big brother. Do you are you friendly with them away from football? Do you guys hang out? Do you study together or anything like that?
Well, we don't really study together because we're mainly all in just a bunch of different classes, so it's kind of hard to do that. But hanging out, sometimes you can, but most of the time we're all doing our own thing, just like getting our downtime. And like when we come back, we're all friendly, we're all hanging out, but we need our downtime in between football and like school and all that. So we don't really hang out that much, but we still have a good relationship.
But in school, you are close.
Oh,
and on the field, you're close. So tell us a little bit about Lake Belton and their defense. What number man front do they run?
So they run a 4-2, 4-2. So it's going to be two tackles, 2 ends, and then 2 linebackers most of the time.
So that puts you. Sometimes they may line up in 1 technique or a 3 technique, but and I don't want you to give anything away, but. A lot of times you're going to be dealing with a middle linebacker in that situation, which means that you've got to get a quick first step to try to cut that guy off if it's a sweep or something like that.
Yeah.
Talk about how you deal with that with a fast linebacker, and the whole snap step is a hard thing to get down.
Yeah. Well, I think all season I've been working on just getting off the ball fast, being able to snap and step at the same time because I know most guys will like throw the ball one way or another whenever they're doing that. So it's kind of a technique you got to learn and like really dial in, and you also got to have a good first step because you need to make sure that your stance is balanced. And if it's not balanced, you have to like back up you have to do a little false step, and that's going to cost you time, especially when you're going up against a really fast guy in the middle, where you have to reach him or else the play is kind of ruined. So I've been working on that in practice a lot. I've been really trying to get off fast and just improve my stance a little bit.
Well, one of the differences from when I played center to when you played center is we rarely used a shotgun formation. But I noticed over the last couple of games we've been under center a few times. What kind of adjustment is that for you to deal with when you're used to just snap, snap, snap? In a little pistol-type formation to, having your quarterback come up to you and tap you on the hip and, get up underneath.
Well, it is definitely a change because we didn't really run that much. But when we do run it, it's kind of nice, I'm going to be honest, because, I can put my hand in the dirt and I get really low and I can get good leverage on the D tackles. And I think most people, really wouldn't understand that. It's also kind of an art to, snap the ball directly into the quarterback's hands because you can obviously feel that his hands are there, but it's kind of if you mess up a little bit, it's going to be a fumble, and that could really hurt your drive.
And if you don't do it often enough, it can cause issues. But even in the pistol or spread formation where he's in the shotgun, you have to consistently snap it at the right level as well as the right velocity, because quarterbacks can we've got some good ones, but they can be kind of prima donnas like receivers sometimes. So.
Yeah, I think whenever I was first starting out as a sophomore, I had issues with like velocity and like going high and all that stuff. But I think as I've worked with Logan for a better half of 2.5 years now, I've kind of understood where he likes the ball, and then also like what speed him and Mason like it. And it's kind of around the same, and then Mason's obviously a little shorter than Logan, so I mean, I don't really have to like move it down that much, but
he's pretty close to the same height, just a couple of inches.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just it's just kind of become natural at this point that I don't really have to worry about it anymore.
Muscle memory is big in that. Now you don't do any deep snapping, right? You just do the regular offense. And do you ever find yourself itching to get out there on the defensive line, like going up to Coach Lopez, going, hey, the tackles are tired, you might need somebody in there?
Well, I think sometimes, I'm definitely at the beginning of the season, I'm like, I want to go hit somebody, so I want to go see if I can go play D-line. But then I feel like as the season progresses, I'm like, I need to start like earning in my technique and all that stuff, and like making sure that I have my game plan down before I start worrying
That's
about
the most
else.
important thing. I mean, you want to have fun, obviously, and hitting guys is fun.
Yeah.
But that's the benefit of being on the offensive line. If you're an offensive player, it's the one position group where you can go out and hit somebody, right? You don't
every play.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for them to come hit you, so you go hit them. So we get that. You like a little. Are you interested in playing post high school?
I think it was usually my dream, like growing up. I feel like most people are for like college.
Yeah, I was going to be
stuff.
a cowboy.
Yeah. But I feel like as I've grown older and like seeing what the sport is, and I still love the sport, but I think my idea of what I want to do after high school has changed, and I'm not really interested in playing at a collegiate level, just because I think
it can wear on you. Frank will attest as well, but I've had, and this just from. Yeah, he was a short yardage running back and played defensive end too, but
linebacker.
Oh, linebacker. Well, he'd get down and rush sometimes.
I'll do what I have to
do. I've had I've got a brace on because it starts wearing on your knee after a while from an injury back in high school, and I've had some back surgeries. I can't exactly blame that all on playing high school football, but playing softball like I think I'm going to make a major league team. That's one of the things you gotta temper your competitiveness when you get out of actual competition, right? It's one thing when you're competing for a district title on your high school football team. It's a whole other thing if you're at the rec league playing softball. You're not Pete Rose. There's no if they're going to gun you at home, just take the out, right? Don't turn around, go back to third. Yeah. You end up with back problems. So, are you interested in college?
Oh yeah, I think my plan is definitely go to a 4-year and then just see what happens after that, hopefully.
Do you have one in mind that you're interested in attending?
I mean, hopefully I want to stay in Texas, but I think all these schools are pretty good for what I want to do, and I want to do something in like software engineering.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of good schools. North Texas is a really good one. The University of Texas is a really good one. And there's many others, smaller institutions as well. So, I think that is a field that there'll always be a need, medical and technology. Yeah. So if you can do those things, you'll be doing really well. Do you have anybody you want to shout out before we let you go?
Shout out my mom. Shout out my dad. Shout out Coach King for always, coaching me up for these entire 4 years that I've been here. And then shout out the whole team. We're really working hard and going to go hopefully get 4-0 this week.
Yeah, and that's the goal, obviously. You want to go into that end of the season unblemished in your district record so that first-round game might be against a little bit lesser opponent than you would face if you ended up in that fourth slot.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
We want to congratulate you on, to what to this point has been a very successful season. But I also like that I'm not hearing a sense of satisfaction from anybody that I talk to, that it's just part of the process to get to the postseason. And I assume the goal is to win the district.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Win it all.
Yeah, win it all. Yeah, well, like I said, go 6 rounds in, and you're playing in Jerry World. Yeah. So you'll get that whole feel of playing in a professional game without actually having to go through all of that to get there, except for the pay part. So, all right, well, appreciate it, Ryan. It was really good to meet you. We want to thank you for coming out and wish you good luck on Friday.
I appreciate it.
We'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
And so that'll be it for tonight's Lion Nation podcast. We want to thank everybody who tuned in to listen or came out. We want to give a round of applause to the Lucky Rabbit one more time for hosting us. And we recommend that you come out and check out some of the live music they have here. In fact, an ex-Lion, Alex Hensley, is on the schedule to come out and play, I think, later this weekend. It might even be Thursday night. It might be this week. So if you got nothing to do, try to come out for that. Otherwise, we'll see you at AC Bible on Friday. And if you're out of town or out of state, tune in. We'll provide the link later this week. Thanks for listening. For Frank Rodriguez, Juan Alanis, and Peter Casimir and Lion football program, we thank you. Good night.
Go Lions.
Yeah, roll Pride.